Welcome to Moments with Marianne. I'm so delighted we're spending this time here today. We have just a phenomenal show coming right up with special guests Carley Mattimore and Linda Starwolf. And they're here today to share with us their new book, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, Teachings from Zep Tepi, the Land of First Time. Now, Linda Starwolf has been a visionary teacher and shamanic guide for more than 35 years. She is the founder and co-director of the Venus Rising Association for Transformation and the founder and president of Venus Rising University for Shamanic Psycho-Spiritual Studies. She's the creator of Shamanic Breathwork Process as well as Shamanic Ministries Global Network and Wise Wolf Council. Carley Mattimore is a shamanic psychotherapist with 30 years experience as well as a therapeutic energy worker. She has traveled to South Africa and Zimbabwe several times, and she teaches shamanic workshops. So let's welcome to the show Carley Mattimore and Linda Starwolf.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We're so delighted to be here.
What a joy it is to have you both here. My goodness. So, gosh, this book is so packed with so much information, and I really feel our listeners are going to gain so much insight and wisdom. There's stuff in here that I never even knew about, so I'd love for you to just kind of share the inspiration behind writing this book together.
Whoa, that's a tall order. The inspiration was started through many of the experiences that I had, both working with Linda Starwolf as well as to traveling to South Africa and Zimbabwe. And as these experiences started working within me to wake up this important message for humanity, it was just a deep inner knowing and confirmation that a book needed to be shared so that it could come out and be shared at this critical time on our planet. So there were many, many inspirations, to make this come to fruition, and it was a labor of love. And I think working with Starwolf, we were able to collaborate to bring forth this wisdom from this land of first time to share.
Well, and, I'd love for you to share with us the prophecy about the white lions, because I don't think many people know about that. And it really, it's such an encouraging thing to hear.
Well, it was prophesied by the indigenous people that when the white lions returned, that would be a critical time evolutionary on the planet for change, that we would be in a time of great transformation and upheaval. And that time really has come to our Earth at this time, and it has come out in many different ways through different kinds of knowledge. But the white lions in particular, who were prophesied, are known to only be from the land called Timbavati, South Africa, and it is on the 31st meridian. And this word, Timbavati, means where the star lions came down, or where the lions, these white lions, are from. And they were prophesied, many years ago, and began to start to come to the earth, slowly in numbers, early maybe trickling in, but in the 70s they were discovered. And at that point, they were pretty much completely either captured or killed to almost extinction. They were still being carried in the genes of some of the tawny lions. So for maybe 12 years, there were no lions. 10 to 12 years, there were no white lions present. And then an indigenous woman by the name of Lion Queen Maria Koso predicted that one would be returning to Earth soon to usher in this new age. And Linda Tucker, who's done a lot of work, and she is now keeper of the white lions and protector through the Global White Lion Protection Trust. She is the one who was working with Maria Koso. And one was born very shortly after that prophecy, and it was born in the town of Bethlehem, South Africa, on Christmas Day in the year 2000. It was born, or this one lion, she was a female lion, and her name is Mara. She's given the name Mara, which means Mother of Ra. And she was born in a can camp, and that industry is an incredible, horrific industry where these animals are bred in captivity for trophy hunting. So hunters can come and spend, a large amount of money, $50,000 to $100,000 to kill a lion in close captivity. And these lions are hand-raised, so that's the other interesting piece about this, is that they're hand-raised, so they are very much socialized. People come from all over the world to have an opportunity to feed the lions, these baby cubs. And these cubs are taken away from their mothers at birth and hand-raised. And then they continue to be socialized in a variety of ways until they're too big and develop too much of their wildness, where they're then placed in cages ready, for a trophy hunter to come in. So Mara was actually born in one of these canned camps, which, it's interesting because not only were they raised for hunting purposes, they were also raised for the lion bone trade, and that is where these lions are killed and their bones are ground up and sent to particularly the Asian countries for using for medicinal purposes. And there's an interesting story just in terms of that as well. But right now, this is sort of on the, politically, it's on the fence in terms of reversing some of that legal. Right now it's legal to do that, but in South Africa it's before Parliament to change that decree and to restore a relationship with lions in a brand new way. So it's a long story here. I could probably go on, and you might have some questions, but essentially Mara was prophesied to come and to usher this in. And she was born in this industry, and Linda Tucker was able to free her through a lengthy battle and courageous battle to return her to her rightful place, which is Timbavati, South Africa, where they are found. And these lions carry light consciousness. They're larger than a regular lion, and they're white because they really hold this energetic place of supporting us as we go through these changes, to step more into our lion-hearted, authentic selves, in that inner authority of truth, to be aligned with all of the natural world, of our relationship with all sentient beings, both nature as well as humans.
Mm. And couldn't we use more of that now? Goodness. Especially at this time in our culture, in our world, it appears that we need to have more courage, and more truth than ever before.
Exactly. And this is the time, and when I speak about this, or we speak about it in our book, that this is a critical time for us to come back into a relationship with that inner authority that lies within us, that has experienced such separation, both collectively and personally in our lives, through trauma, through all the ways that we have been harmed, and not felt trust in being able to be in relationship with others. So we have compartmentalized ourselves in so many ways to shut down that part of ourselves, that integration of our right and our left brains, or our feminine and masculine qualities, our intuition and our authority, our focus and our drive.
So how did Cecil the Lion, how did that impact what's going on within the region? There was such a huge outcry all over the planet in regards to what happened to him.
I think Cecil had a contract, so to speak. This is a lion out of so many different lions that have been, killed in these kind of situations, either through trophy hunting, through illegal hunting, or in can camp industries. But this particular lion came at a time, and it was interesting that it came during this. I think it was very close to the Lion's Gate, which is an astrological connection to the sacredness of lions. And it was timing. It was absolutely timing. And there were so many things going on in the world that people might have felt incredibly helpless and hopeless about, that not knowing how to make a difference in the world. And when this occurred, it's like it was the tipping point. And this incredible Leo lion, Cecil, held that in this place because he was known. People had a relationship with him. And as the news spread across the internet, and across the world, it was like it caught people's hearts. It activated, I think, something inside of them that he energetically was carrying this vibration to say the time is now for us to stand up into this courageous, lion-hearted, and really it's about being in the heart and activating our own hearts in the deepest, profound way with love and compassion, as well as the strength and this power and this connection to what is sacred. And, our relationship with all of life, lions are the apex predators. And so if everything is in balance beneath them, that shows and honors the respect for the natural order of life.
Yeah, I mean, I know it touched me, and gosh, and it's interesting to feel how that touched so many people. The news of that, and just the outcry of what's gone on since then. But it's very encouraging to hear that was probably a soul contract to kind of make us more aware of what's going on here.
Yeah. And I feel that, when those kinds of things happen and the world is activated, in such a way to make a difference, and there were so many things that kind of unfolded, it's like the rippling effect. People began to step up into remembering. Airlines began to, to ban trophy hunting parts. Some of them actually put that out there and stood up to make a difference. There were many ways that it showed up across the planet. And then the undercurrent or the belly of the shadow, as we might call it, the old paradigm holders, their one last stab at trying to hold on. Whenever there's a big shift going on, there's always these opposing forces. And that old paradigm wanting to hang on to the status quo because it brings fear of loss of power, fear of loss of control, or fear of whatever might happen if we move into this brand new place. And that's where it's like the pendulum is shifting now. We see that a lot of those things kind of went underground again. They were taken away from us as this new wave of energy has to gather to begin to shift things back into this, it's like this place of in between. We have this potential, and it's time now for us to gather that leadership, that inner leadership of love and fierceness to make these changes, to come into right relationship.
Oh, of course. And on that note, when we talk about right relationship, Tepe, it's talked about as the land of first time. What does that mean for our listeners that are new to this information? I want them to get a really good understanding of what this means.
Well, the land of first time means, and then this is it's understanding that we are a microcosm of a macrocosm. And that, when we look at the bigger picture of our world, we can see the earth as a living, breathing organism, that Mother Earth herself. I mean, she has a heartbeat. I think even in space, they can actually see her taking her breaths. And she has a spine, just like we have a spine, and that spine, that energetic spine, goes along what we know is the Nilotic meridian, or the 31st longitudinal meridian, and it goes down through the center of Africa, but it goes all the way around. But if we took those land masses and we made the world flat, the land masses would be completely divided in half, and this energetic spine goes down through Timbavati, where the white lions are from, and it continues up to Great Zimbabwe, and where it's an ancient civilization, also known as the land of Tepe, and up to Giza, where the Sphinx paws reside on this 31st meridian. This is the pulse of the world, and it's Earth's energetic spine, and it's where humans are said to have first evolved, and we are finding evidence through DNA collection of some of these ancient people, and more is discovered, as time goes on, that this is this is where we all came from. Our DNA all traces back to this time and this place. And this meridian, connects also with the Milky Way. So we have this old saying that's just coming back into our consciousness as above, so below, that everything is a reflection of everything. So the Milky Way galaxy and these stars above us shine down onto this 31st meridian, and then it also goes underground and connects with this ancient land below us, which is this golden meridian, where most of the resources, the gold, as well as many other what we refer to as this, the diamonds and all of these sacred stones and rocks are also along this meridian. And where this trauma first occurred is where that first separation occurred, not just with the earth, causing great trauma, but in each of us. Every time that we have experienced some trauma, we have separated. And this is where the work with Starwolf comes in so beautifully, because through her shamanic breathwork process and the teachings, through the shamanic healing initiatory process, we ourselves can work on our own energetic meridians. This, our spines are a representation of, this 31st meridian. And when we will heal this separation that exists in our own physical bodies, through whatever way we choose, but shamanic breathwork is a powerful way, and I write about it in the book and, share with it all the amazing ways that it awakened, me to different dimensions and understanding of the ways that I have shut down in my own body through trauma and created more dense, heavy energy inside of me as a protection for these traumas that occurred. And it's not just traumas from our own lifetime, it's traumas that we've experienced in our lineage through our families, and we also know that we carry the collective in us as well. So when we do the work of healing our own inner selves, we're healing our own land of Zeptepi and beginning to affect change in the, energetically on our planet. So this land of Zeptepi is the land the first time where we all originated from, and to understand that there's a deep connection to both the cosmos as well as, the earth itself, Mother Earth, and that we hold both earth and stars inside of us. We are both, and we are remembering that divinity, and we are, understanding that we've come here to be these incredible earth beings here. Doing our work to remember our interconnection with all of life, with the sacredness of everything, trees and, animals and, insects. Everything has a sacred purpose. Everything comes here, with, a blueprint, that we all are connected with in terms of our DNA.
Well, and to kind of touch on that, you talked about shamanic journey. Starwolf, what does a shamanic journey with you look like, so our listeners can really grasp an understanding of that?
Marianne, the shamanic breathwork journey is it's something that can be modified in a lot of different ways. In fact, I was just explaining to someone yesterday who wanted to do the training and was asking about how to become a shamanic breathwork facilitator and wanting to know how long it would take. And I was saying, well, it depends on how deep you want to go. I've done shamanic breathwork journeys in bookstores with books in the past, and especially with my shamanic breathwork book, where I would go in and talk a little bit about it and then have people sit in the bookstore and close their eyes and do just some deep breathing to some evocative music and let their minds, heart, souls just kind of wander, if you will, and to go into that breathing space and into an inner journey. And then, my preferable way to do it is to have people, who are ready to really engage in what I call taking a deep dive into the psyche, into the soul, where all these archetypes live that Carley's been speaking about, where, if you will, the heart of and mind and soul of the gods live within us. And the way that can look is that with the journey, just in a very practical way, is to have people lie down in a comfortable room usually, or sometimes outside under the stars even, but to really create a space, a sacred space where people can go within. And what I mean by going within, I think most people know what that means these days, because of meditation and yoga and those kinds of things. But to move from everyday, ordinary consciousness to another level of consciousness. And, I started out doing this work more than 35 years ago. And at that time, when you talked about inner journey or other levels of consciousness, unless you were talking about getting altered with substances, people really didn't know what that meant. But I think most people today have a sense that there's other types of consciousness, at least they've heard about it, or seen it in movies or, movies like Avatar, things like that. So it really is about using the breath, and we use choreographed music that's chakra attuned, and we prepare people beforehand by giving them a talk about the journey and where they might go, the different worlds or realms or things they might be contacting, such as spirit guides or animal helpers, or even something from their own, as Carley was speaking about, their trauma of their life. Or it could even be something very positive, It doesn't have to be negative. It could be inspiration, visions, guides. And going into that breathing, and it is a continuous breath of breathing in and out and in and out, and allowing the music and the breath to carry you into this powerful state that exists naturally within you. And, the thrust of my work is to awaken the shaman within, such as what Carley has going on for her, what I have had happen for me, what we've worked with thousands of people to do, is to reawaken people's own indigenous nature, because we're all native to the earth. Everyone that's here is native to the earth. But to awaken that shaman within and our connection to nature, so that we can remember all the things that Carley speaks about and that we teach in the shamanic world, and that is to remember our connection to this earth, to remember our connection to the first time, to remember our connection to the stars, and to all of these incredible creature teachers, these animals and trees and insects and everything that's here that's communicating with us all the time. And when you do shamanic breath work, I'll just say this, this has been my experience with shamanic breathwork personally. This is the process that I created, and from other forms of breathwork and shamanic work that I had done. But everyone I know that does this work just deepens their relationship to their inner self, their inner truth, and to their sacred purpose in this world. And they cannot help then but care about this planet and form a deeper connection to the world. So I believe that we're in shamanic times, and what Carley was speaking about the return of the white lions. There's also the return of the white buffaloes, the return of the white bears, not the polar bears, but actual white bears. There's a return of all these white animals right now that have been prophesied in many different shamanic spiritual traditions, that says when this happens, it will be a time of great upheaval and great awakening, and that the forces that are, that are presently in charge will rear up even more, trying to hold their place as the new changes begin to happen and eventually shift the paradigm. So I believe that shamanic breathwork is a gift to us from the same place that the white lions and the white buffalo and all these energies are coming from right now, to remind us of our sacredness here on this planet at this time.
Well, on that note, we're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been speaking with Carley Mattimore and Linda Starwolf in regards to their new book, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. We'll be right back after these messages.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
There comes a moment when you realize you're somewhere special, when you discover that each beautiful creature that you see has been rescued from a life of absolute horror and brought to this incredibly free place. Here's where their lives were forever changed and where yours will as well. Discover over 500 tigers, bears, and lions at the brand new visitor center at the Wild Animal Sanctuary just outside Denver. For more information, visit wildanimalsanctuary.org. Discover true freedom at the Wild Animal Sanctuary.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 123 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
There are nearly 2 million Americans living with amputation. Many live right here in San Antonio. Becoming an amputee can be scary, frustrating, isolating, but there's no reason to feel alone. The San Antonio Amputee Foundation is here to help support you and guide you toward resources such as home and car modifications and even prosthetic limbs. For more information or to make a donation, visit saamputee.org. We'll help you live a full, active life, one step at a time. San Antonio Amputee Foundation, healing limbs, hearts, and souls.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We've been speaking with Carley Mattimore and Linda Starwolf in regards to their new book, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, Teachings from Zetepi, the Land of the First Time. Now, before we went for break, we were talking about the hope that your book brings.
I think that's so encouraging for so many people, because when most people look at what's happening in our society today, it does seem like we're going through much upheaval. And for a lot of people, if they don't have something like your book to make reference to and understand what this is all about, it could be really frightening.
Well, it is frightening. It's frightening. It's heartbreaking. And you have to do one of two things. You either have to amp up your heart and turn it on either bigger, or you have to turn it off completely. That you really have to choose at this point, whether you're going to shut down and become cold-hearted, or whether, and empty because it's just too painful or too hard to look at yourself, to look at ourselves, to look at what we've all collectively co-created, or we have to break wide open and say, oh, wow, forgive me. I didn't know. And now that I know, I'm going to open my heart and allow my heart to guide my decisions and my choices, and remember, to bring more love and compassion into these situations. There's so much going on. We speak about the heartbreak about Cecil and these white lions and all the creatures that are caught in this, mechanistic society right now. But it also, of course, extends to what we've been seeing in this country with the children being separated from their families and the immigration, which is very much on my mind and in my heart right now. And, these things can't occur. They just can't. They cannot occur when our hearts are fully turned on and connected with our mind and our actions. So going back to this place of first time where the separation began, and that has this rippling effect and separation all the way to the present time, is a really important part of the mysteries that the Sacred Messengers is bringing forward, that we must remember who it is that we are. The white lines have come to help us remember who it is that we are. In fact, they carry a type of Christ-like energy, if you will, or, whatever that energy is for people, Buddha mind, whatever it might be, Kuan Yin consciousness. They carry that kind of energy for us if we have the heart to respond.
Do you feel a lot of that is, with the prophecy, is also Mother Earth in her attempts to heal herself from all the pains and all the wounds that have taken place, over the generations?
I can go ahead and speak into that a little bit. I definitely feel that Mother Earth is in that place, just like we are in that place. That is the microcosm and the macrocosm. And she is displaying this by all the ways that she is in upheaval, through the violent, weather that we've been experiencing with the earthquakes and the activation of the volcanoes and the fires and the floods. All of these elements right now are being activated on our planet in a huge way to support these changes. I mean, it feels chaotic and it's intense and it's scary and it can really create a lot of fear in folks. But this is the natural way that a new birth happens, and that's one way to look at the higher perspective of it, is that Mother Earth herself is going through an incredible birth process, and she is supporting us as we also internally are going through this upheaval, our inner fires and our inner floods of emotion, our intense anger, our fear. All of these things are getting activated inside of us, and it is about then going into, like Star Wolf was sharing, about finding our own heart's place of how we have been blocked internally and breaking that wide open and allowing ourselves to feel and to move through and to align with, outside of that place where we have been in that defensive place of either, shutting completely down in victimhood, or acting out, as a bully. Trying to take control and, abuse others through our attempts at trying to quell the fear that's inside of us. And so when we can find our way back home to that center and to filter it all through our hearts, we can keep check on ourselves and say, okay, where am I coming from this? I want to do something, and I know, for me as well, when I think of doing something, I think of those children being separated from their parents, and the parents being separated from their children, and how that has really touched the core, because we can all experience the devastation of that and what that means. That separation hurts so bad that will, and it is cracking us open to feel. And when we feel, then we can say, what is it that I can do? That is a part of my own sacred activism, because we each carry something different. But, this is the time for us to step forward as sacred activists of the heart, to initiate. Maybe initiate's not quite the word, maybe it is, to reinitiate that inner warrior inside of us that isn't about, killing another or, using, more destructive means, but about using compassion as well as a deep understanding of how we can affect change at a grander level, and doing our part, because that's the key, is how do we recognize our own true, authentic peace, because we each carry an important ingredient. We do not have to copy another. And I think many of us grew up, myself included, of seeing myself in another. And sometimes that other can be an inspiration of, actually most of the time, whatever we see in another and try to duplicate, it's really important to actually look back at yourself and to think, how am I like that person? And how can I bring that more fully into my own psyche, to step forward in that aspect of myself that I am growing. That is my, my soul truth, is to be in relationship with those energies within myself and whatever I'm called for to do right now. And it might be simply writing letters and calling your senator, or, It might be doing groundwork. It might be doing shamanic breath work. It might be saying hello to your neighbor that you don't know because you've been disconnected and isolated, like many more neighborhoods are.
Yeah. And how true is that? I mean, we can all use more connection. And your book, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, really invite the reader to be more connected with everything and everyone. It's the planet, the stars, the animals, the people we share the planet with. I mean, it's an invitation for that.
Exactly. It really is. And as you open up more, you begin to see the sacred in everything. And and more we are getting information that allows us to see the sacred in everything. We are posting videos on animals that are showing cross-species communication and showing compassion, and intellect. And, we're understanding that trees have a heartbeat and they communicate with each other, underground, and have friends. Some that they're more in relationship with than others. We are influenced by the stars. We understand more and more that this, as the stars move and the planet rotates, we are affected by these things, whether it's a full moon or a new moon or any of the rotations of the moon. We are in relationship with nature. And as Starwolf mentioned, we are awakening that indigenous knowledge that's within us that has been so compartmentalized and shut down that we have forgotten that everything has a language and that everything is sacred. And we can learn from these other. We can learn from the other, whether it's another human, or an insect, or a bird, or the trees, or the stars. Everything has a vibration, and we, as we grow and evolve and begin to awaken that remembrance, we establish a new communication channel. We open to remembering that we understand that language.
That's so beautiful.
The vibration.
Yeah, because that's, whether people realize it or not, their souls are longing for that, to have that connection and to be in a place where they can, let's see if I can find the right words for this, but really just be in unison with the planet and everything around us. And it's interesting when we see these things that trigger these deep feelings in us. Maybe, we've been talking about the children that have been separated from their parents, their mothers, and that is heartbreaking. No child should ever go through that. We think about child abuse or other injustices in the world. What is that really saying to us on our spiritual journey?
I think that it's saying to us right now that when we see these things and we're triggered by them, once again, that we either have to respond or react or shut down. I don't think that we can just remain neutral. And a lot of people want to numb out. Before I was a shaman, I was a therapist for many years. I'm still a licensed addictions professional. And, I see the rise in addiction. I mean, there's a lot of people who have found their way through to recovery. But the rise of addiction is rampant. And that's not just addiction to substances. It can be addiction, to social media. It can be addiction to pornography. It can be addiction to food, to whatever. But as that happens, people really come to a place of having to open their heart and say, I'm willing to do my own inner healing. Otherwise, I cannot respond to the world. Because when we see things like children being separated, or when we see things like the Me Too movement, we realize just how much abuse has happened on this planet. I live just 15 minutes away from Cherokee, from the place where the Trail of Tears happened. I'm getting ready to go to Peru next month and to take in October, actually, and take a group to Peru. And we know what happened in South America and Peru and places like that were conquered and people were slaughtered and lost their customs and their ways and forced to take on a foreign religion and all of those kinds of things. This is not something that's new. It's been going on for a long, long time on this planet. But I believe that we have arrived at a time on the planet. Like Carley, I share this vision, and I share this vision not only because it's something that I feel inside, but because I've had the opportunity for the past 25 to 30 years to work with various shamans, indigenous shamans, whether it's been in Peru or whether it's been in Egypt or here in the United States, with different shamans around the world, the indigenous shamans, and to hear the stories, to hear what's happened in their cultures, to see what's happened in their cultures and how it seems to be a resurrection, if you will, a renewal energy that's coming through the earth, that's coming through people, that says now is our time to, first of all, identify every one of us in some way. Me too. You know, I too have been separated in some way or abused in some way. Religious abuse. Mm-hmm. You look at the news of what's happening in religion right now with all the sexual abuse that's been happening in religious societies. But also just religious abuse of telling people, children, it's pretty much of religious abuse to tell them that they don't walk this way and do this, that they're going to burn forever someplace for their eternity. That's called religious abuse. We call it, religion, but it's religious abuse. So looking at all these things and how in some ways really disconnected we have been and how that separation happened. And there's not a whole lot of tools out there to do that. I've worked in therapy for a number of years, and I began to understand that therapy alone was going to take eons to get people to where they needed to get to, myself included. That's why I entered into my own shamanic healing path many years ago and then began to learn how to use shamanic techniques for our time and make them user-friendly for everyone. And I have people contacting me every day from all around the world now who would never have contacted me 25 years ago saying, I want to heal, I want to transform, I want to be an agent of change in the world. What can I do? I'm so sad for what's happening in the world. And while some people feel this is a very tragic time, I'm actually celebrating because I feel like that I awakened a long time ago and that the rest of the world is catching up to where some of us have been holding the space for people to do so. And it's exciting to me, Marianne, because I believe that we are getting ready, and this is my hope, but I believe as my Seneca Wolf Clan grandmother taught me before she passed in 2007, that we are, as Carley said, at a tipping point. We are at a place of reawakening, and we are at a place of accelerated healing, and we're given these shamanic tools, and the earth is collaborating and working with us. And these messengers, these sacred messengers in Africa, but also in Egypt, and also, as I said, North America, South America, all around the world are collaborating and communing with us and giving us their wisdom. And we're sharing each other's pain, we're sharing each other's stories, but it's also a time for celebration because we're waking up. And as I said, I think the whole world could use a Me Too energy right now and step into healing. And that's my hope. And the last thing I'll say about this is that, in the mental health world or addictions world, we talk about healing. But I believe the higher octave of healing is transformation. And that is going beyond our wounds and turning our wounds into activism.
Oh, I love that. And it's interesting because a lot of times when people get into addictive behaviors or they, have these pains that they're trying to shield themselves from, they don't really feel like there's a way out. And to hear that there can be a transcendence of this, I think is really encouraging.
And it's true. It's very, very true. And it's really important that people are able to identify their addiction, but not get lost in the hopelessness of it. Because beyond that hopelessness, there is transformation and transcendence. And it's just, I witness it every day in my work. So like I said, I'm very optimistic right now I'm a realist, but I'm also very optimistic because I've never seen as many people really flooding in to do their work right now.
Yeah, and we live in a great time, even though it seems like, things are, it is. A lot of things are changing, and it kind of brings me to my next question. I think I have time for one or two more here. I know in your book you talk about shadow and the collective shadow, and I'd love for you to expand on what that means for our listeners, because I think most people understand what the shadow of our personalities may be. But when we talk about collective shadow, how does that come into play?
The collective shadow is, I think that part of the understanding is that when we have shadows, and I think you're right. I think, Marianne, most people are starting to understand a little bit about what shadow might mean. The shadow is all of those places within us that we had to shut down, as a child, and when we shut different aspects of ourselves down, it goes into the unconscious, and we're not even aware it's there. So then we develop a particular way of being in the world. We develop the defense mechanisms, which we talk about, and these are the things that then are, we operate with a limited scope in our awareness because so much of us has been repressed or, denied because it needed to feel safe. It was the ego's way, which is, our ego works with us to protect us, our ego's way of trying to support us. And so it hides this aspect of ourselves. And we get triggered then in our interactions with others. So, sometimes someone might do something or something might be experienced that some part of us gets activated and we feel, our ego feels tremendous fear or anger or upset, and then it will either shut down and detach whatever defense mechanism, that is most comfortable for it, for ourselves, or we act it out and project it onto somebody else. So on a day-to-day basis, as we begin to heal ourselves, we bring these shadow pieces into more conscious awareness. And it's establishing a loving relationship. And that's where I think it's such an important piece to be in that more higher consciousness of love and compassion for ourselves as we do that work. And shamanic breathwork is a beautiful tool to help us bring those shadow pieces into our awareness. So now then we look at what's going on in the collective, shadow. The collective shadow are all those things that humanity itself has denied, and when you think of what might have been, because we know back in the 70s, and I can speak somewhat because I was active, was a teenager, and a young adult during those times, there was a lot of movement towards bringing consciousness to women, bringing consciousness to the African Americans, and to child abuse, all of these shadow things that have been so unrecognized and had only come so far, were now up for us to bring into more conscious awareness. And so collectively, these shadow pieces were addressed, but only so much. And then it went underground again. And, we talk in the book about the spiral path, and I won't go into it right now, but to understand that there is this constant, movement on this path for the next incarnation of our evolution. And right now we're entering that, all of these dark things that we're experiencing in the collective, like the abuse in our religious institutions of children, like all the ways that women have been, the Me Too movement experienced sexualization and abuse. Right now, related to the immigrants and these things have been going on, but now it is like the shadow is coming into the light, and the light itself is shining itself on these parts of our collective shadow for us to transform. And it's like one thing after another of these horrific things, like all of these lions that are being killed, as one example, or all the ways we have camp industries across the planet is coming into our awareness. It is no longer in the shadow. It's the collective uncovering of the way that this has been systemic. And it's coming for us to to change, to come into a new relationship with, to transform.
I'd like to just jump in here very quickly, if I could, on this with the collective. And I agree with everything that Carley has said, and that this is actually, it's the good news and the bad news that so much is up right now. People can get despondent around it if they feel that they don't have a voice or that they don't know how to make a change, and we've already spoken into that. But the good news about it is this: even though things, we're seeing this rise of white nationalism, of racism just out in the open that used to be hidden, that, it's just out there in such a direct way that seemed to have gone underground since around the 70s or whatever, that was still there but just kind of festering in some way. And, homophobia and the bullying and again, just, how much do we value women, in the world and in society and women's rights? Why should there even have to be something called women's rights or anybody's rights? And particularly, doesn't everybody have these rights? What is this about? And it's interesting that it's at another octave, as Carley said, on the spiral path. It doesn't go in a circle. It goes to another rung on the ladder, if you will. It's circular in that space of being feminine like the womb, that it's all held there. But it's also linear like the masculine, meaning moving in a forward motion. So we're at another octave to say, okay, how are we going to respond to this at another level? In other words, it's asking us to upgrade, because obviously women have more rights than ever right now. It's okay. Even in the most repressive places around the world, they have more rights than ever. Identifying people's genders and relationships, and the whole question of what's feminine and what's masculine, what's normal and abnormal, that's never been more acceptable than it is right now as transgender. People are out all over the place. Look at transgendered people being elected into Congress, into state representatives, by people who wrote the law against people who wrote the laws against them in the first place. Look at the woman in New York that just won there. There's so many things that are changing. That's the good news. But it's also highlighting how much work we have left to do. And that's okay. It keeps us busy. It keeps us out of trouble. But we know that we can roll up our sleeves and put one foot in front of the other and make this movement together.
Yeah, it's so important to do that. And it almost feels like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the movement is kind of happening already. So it's either, kind of make yourself aware, be involved, be an active participant, or get drugged behind it, and I'm just interested in how that it's like we're going one way or another, right?
That's right. I'll tell you, there's two things you can't argue with, and that's nature, okay, and a woman. And women are forces of nature. Men are too, but women are forces of nature. We are walking storms. I was struck by lightning in July and survived it, and doing pretty well, actually. And I've been electrified, excuse the pun, ever since. And people already told me I was a force of nature, but I'm really feeling it now. So we are forces of nature. All of us are. And the nature of this earth itself is speaking to us and asking us to join her in this movement that will happen with or without our participation.
Mm-hmm. I've always thought that the even like Mother Earth, whether we participate in her healing or not, she's going to do it.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I could. It was that kind of old saying: we can go the easy way or the hard way.
Right. Mhm. Let me put it this way. I think I want to be on the winning side of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's so much. And my goodness, your book, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, loved it. It's such an inspiration. Do you know, why don't we start with you, Carley? Where can people connect with you and be part of your community?
I am with the Ahara Spiritual Community of Venus Rising, and that is spelled Ahara, and then Spiritual Community. And you can connect with Ahara Spiritual Community .org on Facebook and find our webpage. And also we have a Facebook page for Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa, so you could also please click on that and learn about the upcoming things that are going on with the book. We are doing book signings and shamanic journeys across the U.S. and also internationally. And also, if you are interested in traveling to Africa, my husband and I are leading a trip to both South Africa and Zimbabwe to be with the White Lions, as well as to travel to the sacred sites in Zimbabwe on the 31st meridian, and that will be in November of 2018. So we will visiting a lot of the places that are mentioned in the book. So those are, some ways to get a hold of me. I'm also at the Healing Arts, the Heartland Healing Arts Center here in Springfield, Illinois. You can find me there as well.
Oh, perfect. And Starwolf, where can people connect with you and be part of your community?
Well, I have a retreat here in the mountains of western North Carolina outside of Asheville, and I have 5 elemental temples here, and I'm Venus Rising, I guess you could say the mothership, where we train people to become shamanic breathwork practitioners. We train people to become shamanic ministers and ordain them, and we actually create and birth congregations such as the Hara community that Carley and John, her husband, run in their area. And we have several of those congregations around the country and some around the world now. And if you go to shamanicbreathwork.org, that's my website, you can click on the events page and see a lot of things happening. A couple of things I do want to mention specifically that are happening right away. We have our next training starts September 4th through the 17th. It's a 2-week intensive shamanic breathwork training transformation program here in the mountains. And we'll be doing that again in Sedona in the springtime in March, and we'll be doing it back here again, training in May of next year. We do have one in Bali, but that's already sold out in December. So that we do trainings a lot of different places. We also have a journey where we're taking people to Peru, and that trip is almost full, and we're taking people to Peru for 2 weeks to go on a journey there. So we have lots of things besides our trainings, but those are the big things coming up right away.
Oh, sounds so exciting, and I know they can look at your books that you have there on your website as well. And, of course, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa. It's available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and all major retailers. Carley and Starwolf, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show with us here today.
Well, thank you, Marianne. It's been a delight to spend time with you and also to connect with Starwolf. I'm in Springfield, Illinois, so it's nice to hear her voice as well.
Yes, thank you, Marianne. I really appreciate the work that you're doing. We're all doing this together, and that's really exciting. And I love doing this work with Carley. She's an amazing teacher and sister of mine.
Thank you both again so much. It's been such a pleasure to talk with you in regards to your new book, Sacred Messengers of Shamanic Africa. Well, we're at the end of our time today. I would like to thank everyone for tuning in. You've been listening to Moments with Marianne. And remember, make every moment count.
In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Her guests are leaders in their fields, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, and business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary. A recognized leader in her own work, and while teaching others to develop, refocus, and grow, Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. You never know just which moment will change your life forever. Moments with Marianne airs every Thursday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Make sure to tune in and visit momentswithmarianne.com for more information.